But first, a very brief explanation. Because the drivers that finished first and second got out of their cars, they have officially been disqualified. So now, the winner, he was third, he's now number one, Cal Jr.
I know it's a technicality, but I tell you what, trying to take this thing away from me, I'll slap you straight in the face.
Hello and welcome to the Weekend Debrief. I'm your host, James. We had a doubleheader in Iowa. Rain pushed the truck race from Saturday night to Sunday afternoon. Let's break it down from the Truck Series standpoint.
They say that when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
So the Gander Outdoors Truck Series was at Iowa, and the race was dominated by Ross, the boss Chastain. He led 140 of 200 laps, winning both stages, crossing the finish line first, with a final result of 32nd place. Yes, Ross did cross the finish line first. He did celebrate in victory lane. He tossed his watermelon on the ground in jubilation, but ultimately in post-race inspection, the truck was found to be too low in the front. And to NASCAR, they said it was quote-unquote extremely low. So with that, Ross was disqualified and the win was given to second place man, Brett Moffitt. Yes, Brett Moffitt, who never led a lap, won this race. And that's not to discredit Brett Moffitt at all. He had a strong truck all race long, was in contention, but ultimately Ross Chastain dominated this race. With the new rules of post-race inspection and the disqualifications that come with failing post-race inspection, it hit Ross Chastain. And what's interesting is a lot of fans are in uproar. Yes, they should be, because this is a very popular driver. This is a driver that a lot of fans wanted to get behind and fans wanted to see do really well, and for him to complete the Melon Man Challenge. You know, he did it, and unfortunately the rule caught him out. The rule was really put in place, honestly, to stop a lot of the bigger Cup teams and also the bigger Xfinity teams from not caring about failing post-race inspection just to get the win. Where, you know, this was a small team that not only needed the points, but they also needed the win, and they got caught. It really shows that there is no more gray area in NASCAR. Honestly, this rule is good for the integrity of the sport. It shows that, hey, you can't just cheat in NASCAR. You have to compete fairly like everyone else. And if not, NASCAR will step in and will lay down their law. It just shows that it's never over until it's over. On track, there was a bit of contact between Johnny Sauter and Austin Hill. First, Sauter getting in the Hill repaying the favor, ultimately sending Sauter into the wall, completely ending his chances to win the race. Sauter took retaliation under the caution flag really aggressively tried to take out the 16 truck. NASCAR did park him for the remainder of the race. What's really important to note here is that this incident is very similar to Kyle Busch and Ron Hornaday in 2011.
Caution is going to come out. Both drivers trying to get by. Looked like the 17 of Timothy Peters. They slid up the racetrack, and now Kyle Busch not happy at all.
It's all good, dude.
And Kyle Busch is going to turn the 33 into the wall. Our championship contender Hornaday in the wall.
Well, Kyle Busch should be parked for this race and maybe the rest of the season for that.
It's the caution period. I get you're upset that you were taken out and the race is probably over for you, but there are many different ways you could handle the situation. You could have your team repair your truck and you can go back out and see what you've got, and once you see that guy on the track, you can wreck them then, just like many other famous Cup drivers have done.
31 car being spun by the 16, and this time that's the payback.
Evidently that crash.
Oh, he gets in there as well. Oh,
Would that be payback?
I guess that's a payback.
Just an eye for an eye, looked like to me.
Guys, you saw it right there. Those white gloves, they made a turn to the right.
Is this payback? Take a look.
It sure looks like
turn 2 right here.
And I can guarantee you that all Vickers has been thinking about since he got turned by Stewart was getting in a position to do this.
Cleared by Logano, maybe no.
you can just, you know, go to the garage and accept the fact that the race is over and try to see him after the race and maybe beat him up.
Oh, Michael Waltrip is a little upset here at Lake Speed.
Michael Waltrip went over and had words and maybe more.
To be a heated conversation with Tony Stewart.
And into like that makes a little bit of contact, and this is right after the race when Matt Crafton's going to come over in person and tell Colin Brown that he didn't appreciate what happened.
I went over there to go talk to him. He wouldn't even let me get out of the car, and he comes over and throws a few little baby punches, and then when I get out, he runs away and hides behind some big guys. But he won't hide from me long. I'll find him. I won't settle it out in the track. It's not right to wreck cars, but he'll show up at a race with a black eye one of these days.
I wouldn't want to fight either of them. In the end, I feel like NASCAR needs to step in here and take some action against Johnny Sauter. Johnny Sauter has always been a hot-headed guy in the sport, and it seems that even as he's grown as a veteran and matured as a driver, he still does juvenile acts such as this. The same Johnny Sauter that was in the Busch Series in 2003 that would just wreck you for 5th place is still here, and yeah, I don't know. The domination between the big three in the Truck Series, which would be GMS Racing, Thor Sport Racing, and Kyle Busch Motorsports. And those three organizations executed very well this weekend. They showed their strengths with all of their drivers and all their teams, especially KBM. You know, Harrison Burton really stepping up and having good runs, and as well as Todd Gilliland. But yes, these three organizations are showing that, you know, as the summer comes on, that they're going to be the hot ones. Now, who from these organizations are going to continue to rise up? As we've seen from Kyle Busch Motorsports, it's been Harrison Burton. From Thor Sport, it's been Matt Crafton, even though Johnny Sauter does have the win. He's just been really inconsistent with speed. But Ben Rhodes has been really strong as well, and consistently in the top 5. You always see his name being called. And for GMS, Brett Moffitt has the win. But Stuart Friesen has been knocking on the door every single race. And now with the affiliation that they have with Nice Motorsports and Ross Chastain, giving them some good chassis and baselines to go off of, you see that even what GMS rolls off the factory floor is just strong. Each manufacturer being represented strongly, and you see great parity. I like this in the Truck Series. I really like it. This is amazing, and it makes it more entertaining to watch. Ultimately, this probably was the best race of the weekend. The Xfinity Series at Iowa. The biggest question was, can Tyler Reddick continue on this roll of top 5s? Ultimately, that wouldn't happen this weekend. Christopher Bell was fast all practice long and was probably the fastest car. Cole Custer beat him for the pole and thought ultimately he could adjust his car to be faster than Christopher's. But in the end, Christopher Bell won all the stages, led the most laps, and won the race, and did not fail post-race inspection. He ended up with a strong showing, and he's becoming a short track ace. Road courses are coming up, Christopher. Can you do it there? He's kind of pulling me into his corner, though. I will say his talent is just something you just got to be amazed of. I mean, you just got to respect it. Ultimately, a great run for him and his team. Cole Custer continues to show that SHR has a strong Xfinity program. The Fords are strong too. And his team can contend week in and week out. Ultimately, he did not have the fastest car, but there's a second Iowa race, and he's looking forward to that. And they didn't have as much practice, too. He did admit that in his post-race interview, that if they would have had more than just the 45-minute practice session, he could have tried to find some more speed. The crew could have found more in the setup, but ultimately, a strong showing for Cole Custer. And it was a strong showing for JRM, Junior Motorsports. You know, Junior Motorsports had 3 cars in the top 10 all day long. Michael Annett, Justin Allgaier, and Zane Smith. Noah Gragson had a little bit of an issue, but was able to bounce back to putting all 4 cars in the top 10. Strong showing for Junior Motorsports as well. But man, what happened to Austin Cindric? I don't know. All race long he was strong. He was showing his hand in the top 10, top 5, aggressively racing, especially with Justin Allgaier. But the restart after the last pit stop, his pit crew gave him the track position. He was up in 4th, but just couldn't get the restart going and fell back and had to contend and fight for a 10th place finish. It was a bit of a struggle there for Austin Cindric at the end, but He had a really strong showing and gained a lot of stage points and was up front for the majority of the race, so not too bad of a points day. But still, what could have been? You just gotta wonder. Finally, let's talk about the driver that competed in both races, and that was Harrison Burton. Harrison Burton finished 3rd in the truck race and 4th in the Xfinity race. A very strong 4th, side by side with Justin Allgaier. Through the truck race and the Truck Series season, he continues to improve every race. He's shrugging off the comments of his car owner, and he's just kind of doing what he needs to do. And that's just going out there and getting as much seat time as he can. Because yeah, ultimately the Truck Championship is what he wants to achieve. But he also has to run ARCA races and Xfinity races, and he's doing a good job in both of those series as well. And now he's showing that he can be a consistent week-to-week truck competitor. So hopefully through the summer months as well, he can continue to strive and grow, and hopefully he can get his first truck win, silencing truck owner Kyle Busch maybe about him. In the Xfinity race, he finished 4th, was strong in the top 5 for a majority of the race, faded back when the caution came out. Crew adjusted, and he came back towards the front and ended up in the top 5. Great showing for him. It's good for him to just be getting all of these races under his belt, and you know, he's in the same car as Kyle. He's in the 18 car with his team, and he's showing that he can run just as strong almost as Kyle, though Kyle would just say, yeah, I would have won that race. In the end of the day, Harrison Burton drove 450 miles, got 2 top 5 finishes, and all in all, it was a good day.
I can't believe today was a good day.
Great momentum for Harrison Burton. And that's going to do it for the weekend debrief. Thank you so much for joining me and this newer format of just bulleting some things in the race, some topics I'd like to talk about. Next week, we're going to wine country for the Cup Series. That's right, Sonoma Raceway, the long course. It's been decades since the Cup Series has run the long course. Fun additions and newer sections for the Cup Series drivers to attack in wine country. We'll see who can turn left and right the best and who ends up in victory lane. Also, the Truck Series will be a Gateway, which is always an entertaining race, weather permitting. Hopefully it's dry because it's always an action-packed race. Will it be the best race of the weekend again? You'll just have to watch and see. Have a great week.